Let's bring in someone else who knows a lot about the White House. Kayleigh McEnany, co-host of Outnumbered and former White House press secretary. Kayleigh, good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning. Good morning, Pete.
And great job on Outnumbered, by the way. It's fantastic to see you
Thank
there. So what's your reaction to Jen Psaki spending more time at the podium sort of attempting to massage the word crisis and what it's really about than actually addressing it?
Yeah, it's breathtaking. I went and watched the first 25 minutes of the briefing this morning, and she used the word crisis, but not in relation to the border. She said we have a climate crisis on our hands. So we've got a climate crisis. We don't have a border crisis, when, by the way, what is happening with these children on the border is atrocious. The conditions, the facilities. It was a human rights violation, according to Kamala Harris, during the Trump administration, but now it's just they turn a complete blind eye to these children. Right. It is an unmitigated crisis at the southern border, fueled by a crisis in Central America, and she wants to play nomenclature games. It's incredible.
We saw it last night on Hannity's show. He interviewed the president, first on-camera interview since he left the White House. I thought the strongest part, Kayleigh, of that interview was when he was talking about the border, because he said all Biden had to do was nothing. Leave it the way it was. Listen to this.
People are coming in by the tens of thousands. They're walking in. All he had to do was leave it alone. If he left it alone, we were setting record positive numbers, and people would have to come in legally. And you know, the other thing that people don't talk about, human trafficking and drugs. That's doubled, tripled, and quadrupled coming in, because that's pouring in right now. Drugs are pouring in. We had it so tight. We were doing so well. All he had to do was leave it alone.
And then he went on to say the Remain in Mexico policy. So that was not easy to get. We had to go through the court system to get it. And then Biden comes in day one and ends all of this. Your reaction?
That's right. President Trump got it right. I mean, you can't argue with results. You can't argue with the 78% decrease in illegal border crossings. You can't argue with that. He used common sense, as he mentioned in the interview yesterday. The wall worked. I went with him. I saw the wall firsthand. It worked. These agreements with Golden Triangle countries in Mexico, they worked. And Biden destroyed and dismantled the entire system. But you see these little tacit admissions along the way that I think even he recognizes those policies work, because Mayorkas reportedly has told people within DHS, we might close some of the gaps in the wall. They went back to Mexico and got troops on the border, which is exactly what President Trump did. So you see these little tacit admissions that they're realizing, in fact, what he did was common sense.
I mean, look, the President Biden gets dissed all the time. He got dissed by the president of Ecuador. They were asked, hey, could you see the envoy, President Biden's envoy? And he said, no, because you wouldn't see me when I came to Washington, so I'm not going to see you. Really? So as we get all these Ecuadorians streaming towards our border, the president said it's not my problem, because they have pride too, and they were disrespected early on by this administration.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And then you have the president of Mexico calling him the migrant president and placing the blame for this illegal flow directly at his feet. And in the Northern Triangle countries, you have one president there saying, hey, you know, smugglers are using your language, Joe Biden, to get people to come to this country. So when you have two world leaders, and you mentioned Ecuador, so three, calling you out, something is going wrong here. But he's too prideful, I think, to ever backpedal, although they did Friday, even though Jen Psaki won't admit it.
Kayleigh, I should have said El Salvador, my bad. All right, I don't want to get Ecuador involved.
No problem.
All right.
Kayleigh, real quick as well, you mentioned language, and the Biden administration says they want a more humane policy. So their ICE and the Border Patrol are now saying you can't use, they put out a mandate, you cannot use illegal alien, you cannot say alien anymore. It's all undocumented, migrant, unaccompanied children.
Non-citizen.
What does it mean when they're changing the official words? And does it make it more humane?
No, it doesn't. They're focused on a word. When there are children who are being placed with parents that may not even be their actual parents, because apparently they've lightened up the vetting procedures with placing these unaccompanied minors. They're trafficked, human trafficked, abused on the journey here, and they're focused on a word. It's why people like senior Democrat lawmaker Henry Cuellar, a Democrat, has said, I'll stick with the original term, which, by the way, is in the statute. Until you change the statute, I'm going to use the word. Because Henry Cuellar is a Democrat who understands the reality of what's going on, because he's there in the border area where even Kamala Harris and Joe Biden will not take a moment to even visit.
All right. Well, Kayleigh, thank you so much for being on with us. The president was also asked about the J&J, and he said that is so stupid what they did. All right, we'll look for you on Outnumbered. Congratulations again.
And with Pete giving you that compliment, he's going to want to be asked to come on the show. That's why he was doing it.
And that's going to make
he
Brian
wants to
very
be the guy.
jealous.
He's welcome anytime, Pete. So are you, Brian.